Tonight, America is mourning. We didn't just lose a star, we lost a legend, a piece of history.
The news was confirmed quietly, as many reflected on a life spent telling stories that history had long ignored. Rodolfo Acuña, known to many as Rudy, had passed away, leaving behind not only books and lessons, but a voice that helped people see themselves more clearly. For decades he stood in classrooms and lecture halls, speaking with calm conviction. His words were not loud, but they carried weight. He believed that history was not just about the past. It was about identity, dignity, and truth. Born into a world where Mexican-American stories were often overlooked, Acuña understood early on that something was missing. The textbooks did not reflect the lives of his community. The voices of his people were either silent or misrepresented. And so he made it his life's work to change that. In time he became one of the most respected scholars in the field. His groundbreaking book Occupied America challenged traditional narratives and offered a new perspective, one that centered the experiences of Mexican Americans with honesty and depth. It was more than a book. For many, it was the first time they saw their history told with care. Students who sat in his classes often spoke of his quiet strength. He did not demand attention, yet he held it. He did not speak to impress, but to inform and inspire. One former student shared in a tribute, "Professor Acuña didn't just teach history. He helped us understand who we were. He made us feel seen." Another wrote, "His words stayed with me long after I left the classroom. He gave us pride in our roots." Throughout his career, Acuña remained committed to education. He believed that knowledge could open doors but also heal wounds. He encouraged his students to ask questions, to challenge ideas, and to never accept silence when truth was needed. Colleagues remember him as thoughtful and deeply principled. He was not driven by recognition but by purpose. A fellow historian once said, "Rudy didn't just write about change. He lived it. He pushed all of us to think deeper and do better." His work extended beyond books and lectures. He was part of a larger movement, one that sought justice, representation, and respect. Through his efforts, Mexican-American studies gained recognition as a vital academic field. What was once ignored slowly became impossible to overlook. In quiet moments, away from the spotlight, Acuña was known as a humble and reflective man. He valued conversation, community, and the simple act of listening. Those close to him often spoke of his kindness and steady presence. As the years passed, his influence only grew stronger. New generations of scholars and students carried forward the ideas he helped shape. His work became a foundation upon which many continued to build. Even in his later years, his voice remained important. He reminded others that history is never finished. It is always being written, always being understood in new ways. Today, as tributes continue to emerge, there is a shared sense of gratitude. Not just for what he accomplished, but for what he made possible. A message posted online read, "Because of Rudy Acuña, we know our stories matter. He gave us a place in history." Another simply said, "Thank you for showing us who we are." In the end, Rodolfo Acuña leaves behind more than academic achievements. He leaves behind a legacy of truth, courage, and cultural pride. His work gave voice to those who had long been unheard, and in doing so he changed how history itself is told. And as his voice now falls silent, the stories he helped bring to light will continue to speak, carried forward by those who remember, who learn, and who refuse to forget. The news was confirmed in a quiet moment, one that felt deeply personal to many who had followed her voice over the years. Mel Schilling, a familiar and comforting presence in the world of relationships and emotional understanding, had passed away, leaving behind a legacy built on empathy, honesty, and human connection. For many, her voice was more than guidance. It was reassurance in times of doubt. Whether through television or thoughtful conversations, she spoke in a way that felt calm, clear, and deeply human. Mel Schilling became widely known through her role on Married at First Sight, where she helped couples navigate the challenges of love, trust, and vulnerability. She was not there to judge. Instead, she listened. She observed. And when she spoke, her words carried both care and clarity. Viewers often saw her in moments of tension, when relationships felt uncertain or fragile. Yet she never raised her voice or forced an answer. She allowed space. She encouraged reflection. And in doing so, she helped people better understand themselves. Behind the screen, her work went even deeper. Trained in psychology and coaching, she spent years helping individuals and couples face their fears, break unhealthy patterns, and build stronger emotional connections. Her approach was gentle, but it was also honest. She believed that real growth required courage. One colleague shared in a tribute, "Mel had a rare gift. She could say the hardest truths in the kindest way. People trusted her because she truly cared." A viewer wrote online, "She made me feel less alone in my struggles. Watching her helped me understand my own relationship." Those who worked closely with her often spoke of her warmth and steady presence. She was not only a professional voice but a compassionate listener. She understood that behind every relationship was a story, one shaped by past experiences, fears, and hopes. Throughout her career, she encouraged open communication. She reminded people that love was not just about feelings, but about effort, understanding, and patience. She often spoke about vulnerability, not as weakness but as strength. In many ways, she helped change how people saw relationships. She moved the conversation away from perfection and toward authenticity. She showed that it was okay to struggle as long as there was a willingness to grow. Away from the public eye, Mel Schilling was known as someone who valued genuine connection. Friends described her as thoughtful and deeply present. She gave her time freely, always willing to listen, always ready to offer support. A close friend shared, "Mel didn't just teach about love. She lived it every day, in how she treated people, in how she showed up for others." Her influence reached far beyond television. Through her teachings, books, and sessions, she helped countless individuals find clarity in their relationships. For many, she became a guide during some of their most difficult emotional moments. As the years passed, her message remained consistent. Love required honesty. Growth required effort. And understanding began with listening. Today, as tributes continue to pour in, there is a shared sense of loss, but also deep gratitude. People remember not only what she said but how she made them feel. Safe, heard, understood. One message read, "Mel helped me find the courage to speak my truth. I will carry her lessons with me always." Another simply said, "She taught us how to love better." Her passing leaves a quiet space, one that will be felt by those who turn to her for guidance and comfort. Yet her words remain. Her lessons remain. And the impact she made continues to live on in the lives she touched. In the end, Mel Schilling leaves behind a legacy of compassion and emotional wisdom. She helped people understand that love is not always easy, but it is always worth understanding. And as her voice gently fades from the present, the guidance she offered will continue to echo, softly, steadily, reminding others to listen more, to care deeply, and to approach love with an open heart. The news arrived quietly, yet it reverberated across the literary world. Tracy, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author who brought nonfiction to life with clarity, empathy, and human depth, had passed away. Readers, students, and colleagues paused to reflect on a life dedicated to illuminating the ordinary in extraordinary ways, showing the courage, determination, and resilience found in everyday lives. Kidder devoted his life to telling human stories. He focused on real people, engineers racing against impossible deadlines, innovators creating groundbreaking work, refugees rebuilding lives, and countless individuals whose stories might otherwise have gone unnoticed. In The Soul of a New Machine, he chronicled engineers building a new computer under immense pressure, capturing not just technical feats but the human effort, frustration, and perseverance behind every success. His writing drew readers in not with spectacle but with quiet attention to detail. He noticed the small, telling moments that reveal character, the nervous glance, the careful choice of words, the silent persistence that shapes outcomes. One longtime reader reflected, "Kidder's stories make you live inside someone else's life. You feel their struggles, their triumphs, and their small victories as if they were your own." Colleagues and students often described him as a teacher even when he was writing alone. He encouraged others to approach nonfiction with patience, empathy, and meticulous observation. A fellow author remembered, Tracy guided without demanding attention. He taught curiosity, deep listening, and care. His influence reaches far beyond the pages he wrote. Truth and respect were at the center of Kidder's craft. He believed nonfiction had a responsibility to honor the people it depicted, to give them voice and dignity, and to capture their experiences with honesty. In work such as Strength in What Remains, he chronicled the resilience of those who faced unimaginable hardship, showing refugees and survivors navigating loss and rebuilding their lives. Each narrative connected readers to worlds far from their own, yet profoundly human. Even in his later years, Kidder remained deeply engaged. His office was filled with drafts, letters, and notes from readers inspired by his work. He emphasized that careful observation and patience were essential to storytelling. He often reminded young writers that the smallest moments, often overlooked, can carry the greatest truths. Tributes poured in across social media and from professional peers. One message read, "Tracy Kidder made the ordinary feel extraordinary. He taught me to notice the people and moments around me." Another simply said, "His words will stay with me forever. What a gift to the world." These reflections capture the lasting impact he had, not just through books, but through the way he shaped how others approach storytelling and understanding. Kidder's work transformed nonfiction. He showed that everyday lives, when examined closely, contain drama, triumph, and deep human significance. He turned human endeavor into art, revealing courage, persistence, and dignity in ways that informed, inspired, and moved readers. In classrooms, newsrooms, and homes, his work encouraged people to reflect, empathize, and think more deeply about the world around them. His legacy continues through the countless students, journalists, and writers who learned from him. They carry forward his lessons: to observe carefully, to write with honesty, and to approach every story with empathy. He demonstrated that storytelling is not just about facts. It is about connection, understanding, and honoring the humanity in everyone. As his voice now falls silent, the stories he illuminated remain alive. Through his work, readers are reminded to look closer, listen more carefully, and approach life with curiosity and compassion. His dedication to truth, empathy, and clarity leaves a lasting mark on literature and on the hearts of all who encountered his writing. Tracy Kidder leaves behind more than a collection of books. He leaves a body of work that teaches us to value the ordinary, to honor perseverance, and to recognize that even the quietest lives carry extraordinary meaning. His stories continue to shine, guiding readers to approach the world with care, attention, and empathy. In every page he wrote, the truth of human experience endures, a lasting tribute to a life dedicated to observing, understanding, and celebrating the richness of life.